call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. If you join me in saluting the flag, appreciate it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh. Somebody's got a cell phone.
It isn't mine. I didn't bring it.
So I want to take a minute before we begin our meeting, and since we have some residents and the public is here, I'd like to make sure we introduce everybody. We have on the end Councilman Steve Frazier, Councilman David McMorris. I'm Supervisor Betsy Moss. In a few minutes will be Councilman John Welsh, who's out on a rescue squad call, so I'm not sure exactly when he's going to get here, but he's with the ambulance. He'll be back soon. And our town legal eagle, Jeff Battistoni, and Nancy, our town clerk. Okay? So we're going to, for those of you who were here before, we're going to follow a very similar path. We are going to open and close our meeting first, our town board meeting. And then after the meeting is over, we will open the public hearing. And during the public hearing, people that have signed in, I'm assuming the sign-up sheet has been used. Anybody that wants to speak, please add your name to the sign-up list that's at the table outside, right at the front door, actually. I think people are using it, aren't they? Okay, good, because I looked at it earlier and there was nobody signed up. So if you'd like to speak, please put your name on that list, and then I'll call your name in the order in which you put your names, and we'll bring you right up here. So at this moment, we're going to go ahead and introduce for the town board meeting our guest speakers. Ray Brigatti, Regional Manager from Homeland Towers, and Jordan Fry, Attorney from Snyder & Snyder. If you gentlemen would come on up and present, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Members of the town board, for the record, Ray Brigatti. I'm the regional manager with Homeland Towers. Homeland Towers is a tower developer in Danbury, Connecticut. We're the type of company that builds the infrastructure for the carriers, either Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, wireless facility carriers, service infrastructure, public safety, of the cell tower project, and then I'll turn it over to Attorney Fry. But basically, what we're looking at here is this 16.2 acre parcel. For reference, we have Route 55 that runs toward Poughkeepsie and toward Pauling, basically north, south, east, and west. We are proposing to bring in an access drive off of the Forest Lane. The access drive itself is typically a 12-foot wide gravel. Utilities are on the ground that run underneath the access drive. The access drive would run approximately 470 feet into the wooded area. And then we have proposed a square compound. It's a lease area of 70 by 75, but the actual fence compound itself will be 63 by 70. Within that fence compound, behind an 8-foot high privacy fence, will be the carrier's equipment, enough room for public safety and so forth. In the middle of the lease area or compound will be the monopole. We're proposing a height of 150 feet, which is obviously allowed per code. Verizon is the co-anchor or applicant on this project. They will be going on the site if it's approved and constructed. Their antennas would be at a center line of 146 feet. We are proposing to plant, I believe it's 23 8-foot Norwegian spruce pine trees around the compound itself, to offer some additional screening. That's more or less the layout for the project itself. I'd be happy to turn it over to Jordan to speak further on.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Jordan Fry. I'm a partner with the law firm of Snyder & Snyder, 94 White Plains Road in Tarrytown, here on behalf of Homeland Towers. I want to run through the documentation that was submitted to this honorable board. This is a request under the Monroe Balancing Test on the New York law regarding zoning immunity, but I wanted to bring to the public's attention, as well as the board, the documentation that was submitted, which is very similar to the documentation that is submitted in the zoning format. So first off, I want to make it clear that there was an RF compliance report submitted by the applicants, which confirms that the facility will be in compliance with all required FCC standards. Now, that's something that isn't under the purview of this honorable board, but it's something that was submitted in the course of business, showing that this facility is approximately 2% of the permitted rate of emissions from the FCC, or put in other words, less than, it's like 45 times below what would be permitted under FCC requirements. And that's something that, again, that's not part of this board's purview, but we submitted the documentation just as a matter of course of business. As well as the tower, we submitted an FAA opinion letter. The tower is not going to be lit. We've submitted numerous letters from our environmental consultants, UBI confirming no impact to the endangered species, as well as certain protocol that will be taken during the construction process in order to protect any endangered species. We've submitted numerous affidavits from Mr. Brigatti in terms of the siting of this facility and why this is the best location and the most feasible location. We've also submitted letters from Verizon Wireless's radio frequency engineers confirming the need for the site from both what's called the capacity issue as well as from a coverage standpoint. Just recently tonight, I also submitted a supplemental letter from Verizon Wireless addressing certain questions from Mr. Ronald Grape, who's a wireless consultant, who had certain comments to the board. All of his questions were addressed. In addition, the applicant submitted a visual resource assessment. The photo simulations are posted on the wall. The site is very well screened by existing mature vegetation, and in many viewpoints it will not be visible. And overall, the conclusion of the report is there will be no adverse visual impact to the surrounding community. The applicant submitted a structural certification with respect to the engineering of the proposed monopole and certifying that it's structurally sound in accordance with applicable law. We submitted a long environmental assessment form as well as revised forms pursuant to certain comments that came up over the course of this proceeding. Also, there was a couple things that were submitted after the last meeting in May. A noise confirmation letter confirming that the emergency generator will be in compliance with applicable noise standards. Again, several letters from the environmental consulting firm, as well as Mr. Vergatti's affidavit responding to certain questions regarding the siting of the facility. In addition, an appraisal was submitted with an analysis showing 15 similar facilities within the local region, which sets forth that there's no decrease in value in connection with the siting of a wireless communications facility. And again, a letter from Michael Crosby, Verizon's engineer, setting forth the need for the facility from both a capacity and coverage standpoint. We're happy to answer any questions that this honorable board may have, as well as the public.
I just want to confirm that since Supervisor Cavucci is here, that they got a copy of that package?
Yes, we did yesterday.
Okay, good. That's when we got it. Okay. And any and all of that information is available to the public. We have it, I'm sure their town clerk has it, the town of Beekman, our town clerk has it, anybody can get it. The visuals from the red balloon test that a lot of people were interested in, if you start at the left and kind of work it that way, that shows the results of the various tests, and I think that taller board in the middle shows all the various places they took photos from. Is that correct, Ray?
The larger boards in the middle show a 1 mile and a 2 mile diameter of viewshed analysis, so potentially where it's visible from and not where it's visible from. It's computer generated, and then they go out to the field and actually document.
And actually do it. And I think it's important that people start at the beginning, the left, and go, but then on the larger photos on the right, which I thought when we got this package, I thought it was particularly interesting because you show what the existing view looks like and then a simulated view.
Correct.
So I think people will find that interesting if you get a chance to kind of walk through there and look at it. That will be helpful. Is there anything else that you want? I'm curious. I think you should just elaborate a little bit on the appraisal. You got 15 different appraisals.
Sure. The appraisal prepared by Lane Appraisals is prepared by a licensed appraiser. And again, it takes into account 15 other facilities that are similar to the proposed facility in and around this region and the adjacent counties. And basically what it does is there's a analysis showing the sales of homes with the view of the proposed facility or the facility for each property, as well as homes that do not have a view of the proposed or the existing facility, I should say. And what the analysis shows is that the price per square footage between the homes that had a view of the facility versus the homes that do not are almost identical. In some instances, with the view of the tower, the price per square footage actually was more than the homes that didn't have the view and vice versa. But in most instances, they're very, very similar in terms of price per square footage.
Good.
What were the distances from the tower?
They're all part of the appraisal, so there's 15.
Varies.
It varies, but the locations are all shown.
They were as close as 500 feet?
Well, first off, I don't believe any resident, with respect to this facility, I don't think it's even within 500 feet.
It's over 500.
Yeah, it's over 500 feet. so-
560. Thank you.
You said there were 15 similar facilities from where in the area? Was it in Dutchess County?
Correct.
All in Dutchess County?
Not all in Dutchess County, I believe, but Dutchess, I know Orange,
Putnam,
Putnam.
3 in Putnam, 4 in Putnam. Westchester.
So first, exactly where in Dutchess, which is the relative answer?
Well, I'll answer that question for you. Again, I'm not the appraiser. This is a certified report that's, the methodology's been held up in New York courts. But again, it is within these regions, and as mentioned, there are Dutchess, there's Putnam, very similar communities.
So what I would suggest is, the reason I mentioned it is I wanted people to know they could get a copy of it.
So all of that appraisals at the town halls?
Yes,
It's a matter of public record.
yeah,
It's been submitted for the record.
you can get a copy.
Those appraisals don't address the length of time, additional time it may take to sell a home in direct view as opposed to not direct view. Am I correct? I mean, wouldn't that be one thing that you would have to take into consideration if one house that doesn't have a view sells
You know,
3 months and the
I don't
other
think
takes
that,
3 years?
it's a fair question, but I don't think that's every piece of property is unique. So I'm going to leave it to the professional preparer of the report who certifies that there's no.
But it
there's no
doesn't
in-
address that, it does not address that situation.
There's not information regarding how long it took each property to sell. So there's 15 examples with potentially 10 to 20 properties listed under
But it
each
doesn't
example.
really then give the entire picture, it's just giving.
It's not a real estate report, it's an appraisal report, so it gives you a sale date, and I'm sure since it gives a sale date, anybody can go do that, look it up.
And again, that methodology has been held up in New York courts as a valid methodology, so
But I think to the layperson, they would want to know if they had a home that was impacted by this, the difference in terms of how long does it take you to sell your home.
right, you know, I mean, the same, this, to just play devil's advocate, and Verizon has done studies on this. In fact, especially younger home buyers, first-time buyers, one of the first things they do when they walk into a home that's potential property they want to buy, they actually look at their cell phone and see if they have coverage. That is the other, aspect that needs to be considered, whether or not your home is marketable to folks who rely on their smartphones and devices. We also do not want to have a landline. We want emergency 911 access all the time. This has an emergency backup generator that Verizon is proposing for seamless coverage. So There's many
I don't think that was
factors.
part of the question. The question is, we're talking about the real estate.
Understood, but
And that's a concern.
my point is that every piece of property is unique, but indeed Verizon actually has done studies which show that most first-time home buyers actually look at their cell phone and want to make sure that they actually have the coverage. So I don't know, that appraisal doesn't say how long it took each property to get sold. It also doesn't say whether or not the homes were, the kitchen was redone. It doesn't say that, but what it does do is it generally provides a list of properties, and it doesn't provide two. It provides, 5, 10 approximately, with the view and without the view. And again, it's been held up by New York court. So there's many variables. You're right, there's many variables.
Does it discuss what it does to your assessment value, how it impacts assessment values within the town?
That's a question for your tax assessor. It's not an improvement on the actual piece of property yourself. My general understanding, and I'm not a real estate tax assessor or appraiser, but the majority of the time, I believe, and again, this is just the answer to your question more from a layperson, is that the appraiser looks at the value of your home when it was last sold. And based on this appraisal, the value of the home do not go down. In many instances, the price per square footage was actually more for the home that had a view of the tower.
Tara?
Can you elaborate, please, on compliance with the noise compliance and be specific to whose laws you were compliant to?
Sure.
And how this was determined?
Sure. Both there was a letter that was submitted by Verizon and Homeland, actually it's Homeland's, I believe, design engineer. The letter is stated for the record. It's submitted for the record. It bases the noise standards at the property line, which I believe both Meadville and Beacon have the same decibel levels. And there's an analysis in terms of what the noise level would be at each particular property line, and it demonstrates that it's lower than what's permitted. Also, with respect to the generator, it's only ran in terms of if there's an emergency. So it's not like this is on all the time.
Except that if you ask the residents, they'll tell you it's going to be on once to twice a week.
Yes, it cycles. I don't know. I don't believe it's once or twice a week, right? Maybe you can, but I believe it's bi-weekly for approximately an hour.
Sorry, I'm late.
Set the time of the day when it
I
cycles.
think you misunderstand me. They lose power once or twice a week in this area.
Well,
So it's going to be on a lot.
Well, I would suggest that if you unfortunately lose power once or twice a week, I think that's really an argument for the generator, so that you can make 911 calls on your cell phone by way of the cell tower and the generator kicking in. But again, the actual decibel levels will not be exceeded, and that analysis has been submitted. So not only will the generator not exceed the noise requirements, but it's actually going to ensure that the facility is up and running in the event of a natural disaster.
But the premise is that everyone should be relying on wireless calls. The premise is that you discount anybody should have to, want to, need to buy a landline. Therefore, you're omnipotent.
So Tara, excuse me one second, do me a favor. This is a time to ask, and everybody needs a
But
chance.
I'm asking the premise of it.
I'd like that your editorial comments, you'll have time to speak later. Let them answer your questions, and everybody's just Q&A right now, and then you can come up and speak your mind about other things,
I
okay?
just was asking him about the premise of his answer.
Okay.
The answer to your question is that it's going to be in compliance with both the Beacon and Uniondale noise regulations, and the letter from the engineer has been submitted. But to add to that, I believe it's a great benefit, considering the fact that you indicated that there's homes that lose power quite often.
Another question?
Maybe this is more towards the study. Are there any areas around like these homes here that don't have any cell service?
So I can't answer that question from an RF. That's the question for an RF engineer. That's a very vague question. The documentation that's been submitted to the board shows that there is an area of the town where this facility is located that will be remedied with respect to lack of cell coverage. In addition, the other issue is that because of the growing need for cell, because of the amount of users and the amount of data that's transmitted by your smart devices, there's a capacity issue, which means that some of the surrounding cell sites in the area just simply can't handle the volume of use. So not only will this facility add additional coverage, but it's going to help supplement the other towers as continued use, as cell phone use continues. And that analysis has all been provided to this part of the record.
I didn't notice.
Any other questions of these two gentlemen? No?
You said that Verizon did these studies?
When you say
The
studies,
appraisal, the...
so the appraisal was done by an independent appraiser. The statement that Verizon has done research and has found that home buyers prefer to have homes with cell service is a Verizon research. That hasn't been submitted for the record. The actual appraisal that's recognized under New York law as proper methodology has been submitted, but that's something that Verizon does stand by and has presented to the public many times. This is the first time that someone on behalf of Verizon has mentioned that.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay, can I have a motion to close the town board meeting, please?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the town board meeting is officially closed. I think now we will move into,
I would like to move that microphone right now over to that side.
would you take care of that? Thank you very much.
The people don't trip on the wire.
What we'd like to do now is see if anybody signed up to speak. I'm not sure if well, Andrea will let me know that, but as far as the public hearing goes, you've already been introduced to who the town board members are. We ask that you, as you're addressing members of the town board, you're not addressing the public when you here, if you could speak to us, that we'd like to hear your comments. The way that we've set this up, great, thank you. The rules of our procedure is that everybody who signed in will be able to speak for 3 minutes, and consistent with what we did last time, I don't know if you were here last time, but we gave everybody a 20-second warning, so kind of a la Dale Carnegie, so everybody would know that they had 20 seconds to wrap it up and not be abruptly cut off. So you also cannot cede your time to anybody else. The board may decide to give extra time to somebody if they deem it necessary. And we're going to, now we don't have a lot of people signed up. If there's anybody else that would like to speak, come on up and sign up, because we will sit here until everybody's spoken. So is there anybody else? No? Okay. Well, we're going to start calling signees, and we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. Gina LaMonica, you might be first.
Gina LaMonica, 16 DeForest Lane, about 800 feet from this tower. A couple of things I want to say to start is the great commandment of science is mistrust arguments from authority, meaning don't trust the wireless to police themselves. They do their own studies, and of course the slant is going to be in their favor. The other thing is the FCC does not check or monitor or measure the RF radiation on any tower under 200 feet. So you could have as much radiation as you want on that tower, and because it's under 200 feet, no one's going to monitor it, no one's going to regulate it. And as for the last meeting, the other attorney that was here said that the poor service on the existing Beekman 1 is because of topography. Well, topography doesn't really change here unless you have a volcano eruption, beach erosion, or you man-made they blast mountains. So if they're putting towers up and not taking topography into consideration, then who's to say that this tower is going to go up and not be functional like the one down at the other end? Because I have to say I drove past it and I didn't have signal. They should have known, whoever their engineers are, that the topography is what it is before they put that tower up. And I don't know about your appraisals. I have done research and found that 94% of home buyers are less interested and would pay less, 20% less for a house that's near a cell tower. 79% would never, under no circumstances, purchase or rent near a cell tower. And in London, I know it's England, but in England, homeowners got 10,000 to 20,000 pounds, which is 12,800 to 25,600 after a cell tower, they got reparations after a cell tower placed near their homes, dropped their home values. Court of Appeals upheld the right of local residents in March of 2012 to oppose a cell tower based on property values. And, you know, we are all going to drop, our home values are going to drop. No one's going to want to buy our house, even if I want to move away from the tower because it's unsightly, it's a blight on our neighborhood. This is a pristine rural area. This is not California. We don't have 200-foot sequoias. This thing is going to tower above our 80-foot maples.
20 seconds.
I don't know what else to say, except we do not want this tower. There's 2 endangered species in the park. I know he made a comment about endangered species, but this is a park. It was deeded to be protected. That was a solemn oath that you're violating. And it's shameful. Shame on you.
Helen Shuttleton?
Shuttleton, 2162 Route 55. I've done some research myself as far as cell towers go. I'm not convinced as far as the appraisal report that they do not affect property values. Also, I'm concerned about the environment and the unsightliness of it and the effect it has on our neighborhood. We have an elementary school and middle school not far from here. And I believe that given the fact that I know that health issues are not supposed to be a valid argument based on the Telecommunications Act of 1996, that happened long before the technology we have today. And I think that we need to, as people, as neighbors, consider the effect that it may have not only on us, but our children and our grandchildren, and the value of this lovely area, because it can adversely affect it. And I would like this to be looked at more intently and certainly not be rushed into.
Thank you. Eric Gallo?
Hi, I'm Eric Gallo, 17 DeForest Lane. I just have been writing things down for this whole meeting, and I pulled in my driveway after the last meeting we had here. And some of my concerns prior to this endeavor were a house being built or a development going in the land. And we always built our house and situated everything, so that was our concern. And when I pulled in the last time, I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "You could put a strip mall up next to my house now, I won't care." I think the environmental impact that nobody saw is that you're going to see that every time you pull in my road, every time. And I think that it's, I don't know if I should say disgusting, but I think it's a disgusting display of nature, and we all live there because it's very pristine. I read through the deed. I've done a lot of calls to assemblymen and senators and everything else, and I just think that this is, it was supposed to be used as a memorial to the Connor family, and I just think it's kind of bizarre what's happening with a very pristine section of this town. That's all I have to say. And I think that the FCC regulations are really, really outdated. I still will be leaving the
because that's what I'm gonna have to do, because I don't believe in any of the health things that are positive or negative about it. I can't take that risk with my children. So that's why I made phone calls. You know, I'm kind of shocked that there wasn't too many people here tonight. But, you know, I made a fight that I think the cell phone tower shouldn't go up. That's it.
Thank you, Eric. Barbara Walsh.
My name is Barbara Walsh. I live in Chelsea Cove condominiums. I really just became aware of this. I sat for an hour with Gina and Helen and Tara. I asked Gina to show me the letter that she received. I said, how did you find out about this? She got a letter from Betsy, and you listed all the reasons why you thought this would be good for the town of Unionville, not the least of which is the money involved, which would go to the town, which then would go to, I think, mostly to improve playground facilities.
We go to the park.
Park. Okay, so that sounds great. And then I've been made aware that, well, these women were saying that, you know, I spent most of the afternoon bringing up medical studies that were done by, I have several of them with me. You know, cell phone towers that were forced to be taken down in California because students and teachers, I'm a retired teacher, had gotten cancer. And there was just study after study. So I'm reading this letter, and I'm thinking, but they said, you know, but they're going to dismiss that. They're going to dismiss that because, you know, there's a law that says that, you know, medical reasons can't be considered. But the law is 28 years old. And I'm thinking, don't these people have families? Don't they have children? Don't they have grandchildren? You must. And yet, are you willing? Are you willing to forfeit all that to get the income for the town? Even though it sounds like a noble cause. It sounds like a noble cause. But what about, you can't deny some of this information, and the facts are the facts, that the law, the FCC, is 28 years old before we even had cell phones. Again, I'm trying to have faith in the government. I don't have much faith in the government right now, and of course that speaks for itself, doesn't it? But I'm trying to have faith in you, but how can I? What are you thinking? I'm just going to read something now, and it has to do with how it's going to affect people medically. Stakeholders thus far in the development of 5G have been industry and governments, while renowned international electromagnetic field scientists who have documented
20 seconds.
biological effects on humans, animals, insects, plants, and alarming effects on health and the environment in thousands of peer-reviewed studies have been excluded. So you know what? I'm not going to get to read this, but I really hope you examine your conscience, because this is a bad move for humankind and for your community.
Thank you, Barbara. Tara Longworthy? Lang, sorry. There is an A there, isn't it? Thank you.
I'll need a copy for Councilwoman Kelly. Good evening, I'm Tara Langworthy, 19 Washburn Road, Poquay, New York. One of the things that the attorney at the last public hearing and this attorney this evening said, that we should be assured that we'll be safe because the microwatts per centimeter squared will be 45% lower than what the FCC deems as safe. That safety level is 580 by the FCC. 45% will be 261. The next highest acceptable microwatts per centimeter squared in the world is New Zealand at 50. And those pillars of the environment, China at 6.6 and Russia at 10. So I ask you, if the international community doesn't even think an average of 10% of what our FCC says is safe, should we be trusting a law that did not exist when smartphones were made? Over the last 18 months, there is a consistent movement. Particularly what touched me was the LA Firefighters Union, which is this article I handed out to you, who publicly oppose all cell phones, the amount of physical damage done to these firefighters by having a tower over their firehouse, neurological damage, brain damage, tumors. We say we need this for our firefighters, and yet firefighters in other parts of the country are opposed to expansion of cell towers. 93 and 100 peer-reviewed studies show that there is an alarming increase in oxidative damage in residents in proximity to compliant cell towers. If you don't know what oxidative damage is, it is the imbalance of free radicals and antioxidants which leads to cell and tissue damage, which is directly related to cancers. 240 scientists and doctors from 41 nations, all with peer-reviewed research, has appealed to the United Nations for a moratorium on 5G rollout. Because we're not only talking about cell towers, and this one is 5G capable, we're talking about the number of satellites they want to put in space. We're talking about an absolute insane crisscross of radiation waves that we have no idea what is going to happen. Just because an FCC law allows it, and just because the lawyer and Verizon believe they have a Monroe Balancing Act on their side, does not mean this is moral or ethical. And I ask you to put a stay on this action immediately.
Thank you. Maureen, I can't read the last name, is it Abel? Sarah Maureen? Would you like to?
Do you want to speak?
Oh, you were just deciding to come in as opposed to speak? Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I'm pretty upset now.
Feel free to. Feel free.
My daughter and her husband wanted me to come tonight.
Name and address.
My name is Maureen Bugle.
Bugle.
And,
Name and address, please.
18 Ellery Road, LaGrange, County. They wanted me to come tonight, and I thought, oh, well, cell towers, aren't they everywhere? I'm not happy to listen to these different people's investigations. And I have 4 of my grandchildren living, according to my son-in-law, it's going to be like within feet of their property. There are other spots in this park that have nothing near them that are called homes. Please, don't go with where my children are and my grandchildren. Move it in another spot if you have to. I am just surprised. I don't like hearing these studies, it's scary. And if they're right, then you're liable.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Would you like to say something? Come on up. Just state your name and your address if you don't mind.
Veronica Bernhardt, 2193 Route 55.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I'm very upset, just because I'm sure none of you had to walk the trails of Highland Park up there, despite you actually living in Edenville. But I'm not even a resident of the town, but I like to go for walks with my cousins. I'm probably up there every single day. And just to see such a beautiful sight marred by a cell tower, just really, it scares me from the health effects. And just like other things like property or balance, and if my family wanted to move, but I have 3 younger siblings, and it's just very scary, and I'm very sad. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Would you like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Supervisor, board members. My name is Paul Ackerman from Wallace & Wallace. I'm the town attorney for the town of Beekman. I spoke at your last public hearing, and I just wanted to address a couple of additional issues. The town is in receipt of an updated long-form EAF, which most importantly corrects zoning district. I think there was a misstatement in the last EAF that the zoning district was an R90, and clearly it's an LC. It's important to note
Well,
that
it's not clear.
the LC zoning district prohibits even the town of Beekman from constructing a wireless communication facility in that zoning district. So the town specifically put in their zoning district that they would be prohibited from constructing this, and likely, and it would be likely the town of Unionville would also be subject to that restriction and be prohibited from constructing a telecommunications district in the LC zoning district. But however, that long-form EAF did not correct what we believe is some other substantial issues. First off, the town board already passed a resolution declaring a negative declaration.
Could you specify which town board you're talking about?
Town of Unionville,
Okay,
this town
thank you.
board
Thank you.
passed a resolution already declaring a negative declaration for a portion of this project, and we believe that that negative declaration is an improper segmentation of the secret review process. We believe also that portions of the boards or decisions that will have to be made are not covered by seeker. The seeker document that was just submitted to us identified the action of the town board as just the conducting the road balancing test, but also there's very important decisions that this board has to make that's not covered by that seeker, such as alienation of parkland, which is probably the largest, and actual construction of the tower. So even if under the Monroe balancing test, the town of Unionville is determined to have governmental immunity, they still would have to conduct a seeker review for construction of the tower, and there's no seeker review that's been circulated for that. The seeker document does not identify all interested parties and involved agencies, and some of those, for instance, the New York State Parks is not identified, and really no agency in the town of Beekman is identified. There are some other issues. For instance, the document incorrectly determines that the parcel is not in a open space plan, which it clearly is, in accordance with the town of Beekman comprehensive plan. So that is a significant issue with the identification of some potential environmental impacts that's not raised in that secret document. I also want to just point out that there is some deeds that are attached to the secret document that was received. I'm not sure if there's an error in those deeds that are attached. There's seems to be a reference to some 8 parcels that are not consistent with the rest of the secret document, which identifies, I believe, a 16-acre parcel. I think the deeds identify parcels that are of different sizes. So we're not sure if that's a inconsistency or if we have identified the wrong parcel. Also, in those deeds that are attached to there are deed restrictions on those parcels, on the deeds identified in those documents attached to the secret documents. If there was some action to remove those deed restrictions, or if the town board intends to remove those restrictions, we would just like to know what process the town would be doing to do that, and if seeker is being considered for those removing of those deeds in certain covenants. And then just finally, I want to raise an issue with one more issue. So that's it. So the town board's considered is concerned with the process, specifically the secret issues that we've raised. Again, we, being the town of Beekman, believe that the proper procedures for the town of Beekman to conduct the Monroe balancing test, it's the host municipality, we believe it's the host municipality that should be conducting that. But regardless, with the zoning district and the prohibited use of electronic communication devices by the town of Beekman, we figure any determination under the Monroe balancing test would prohibit the construction on this site in that zoning district. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers listed? So,
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Can I say something real quick before we close?
you need to come up and identify yourself and all that.
My name is Dr. McNeely. I'm on 22 to Forest Lane, so I'm probably about 800 feet, 900 feet away from this tower. My question is, I didn't think of it at the time when the gentlemen were all talking, but they're building a road to the tower on our road. What I'm curious is, do they have to pull permits to come through our road to get onto their property? Because our town is the town of Beekman. The property in that area is the town of Beekman. Beekman giving these guys permits to come up our road and then put a whole driveway right to this tower. The second thing is that how long is this construction going to take? Because there's 5 houses in this road, and we're used to nice, quiet days and nights there. My concern is that every time something goes wrong there, they're going to have a truck in the middle of the night, on any given night, coming up through, and our bedrooms are right facing the road, so you can hear a dog walking up our road. Never mind a big truck coming up the road, waking you in the middle of the night. So I don't know if that concern has been addressed. We're only 50 feet from the road. So any type of traffic going up and down there at all hours of the night is going to wake us up. It's going to wake the kids up. It's going to wake the dogs up. Also, as Derek pointed out, you walk up our road, you're going to see that. There's no way to disguise that how it's going to be going up our road. It is unsightly. I said at the last meeting, it's just going to deter us that we're not going to allow our kids into the woods anymore once this thing gets approved and it's built. It's just taking the whole good of the area. It is a park, it's a parkland setting. My other question is like, I know that you only have to reach out to a certain amount of people that's in a certain range from this tower, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, whatever. But what about all the people on Dover Road and Duncan and all of the things? Was any letter sent out to these people? This is probably why this room is empty, because nobody has informed these people in the area that's in their backyard is going to be a tower, and because it's 500 feet away from their property, they don't have to be notified that this is going to happen. So I think the right thing to do from both Beekman's point of view and Unionville is somebody's got to reach out and tell these people what's going on in the backyard, because I'm sure they're clueless. As the young lady said tonight, she didn't know anything about this.
20 seconds.
So I think that people should be notified, and that the proper courtesy should be put out to all the people in the area to let them know that what is going on in their area, and that they should be at these meetings, because I truly believe that people are uninformed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Just make that motion again.
Would you
To
please?
close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, the motion carries, the public hearing is closed. I'd like to ask all of you to, take some time and look at the visuals on the wall. Thank you very much for coming. We will take into everybody's comments into consideration. We have them from last meeting and this meeting, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Well, we have a board meeting this Thursday night, and we have another board meeting on the 20th. We meet the first and third Thursdays of every month. Okay?
Is this on any of those agenda at this point? Any decision regarding this on any of those?
We're going to talk about that now. We're going to, I'm going to go to the next room with our attorney and talk about it then. It'll be posted, but we want to discuss it.
As of right now, there's no intention to have.
As of right now, there's not an agenda because our first Thursday, actually, we're changing that to a regular agenda meeting on this Thursday. So it could very well be on this Thursday, or it could be on the next one. We'll talk to them
And when would if it is on your Thursday agenda, when would your agenda be posted?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Thank you.
It'll be on the web.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I put all the pictures up.
Yeah, they look good. I think they're interesting.
Yeah.
One or two people, one or two.
Yeah, because they tell them their story.
Yes.